Welcome to Oink Time Podcast. I'm Jen Carnivale.
And I am Ben Elwood.
This is the podcast. This is a podcast where we chat to fellow comics about one word we pick out of the hat, tear it apart. If you'd like to see more of that, why wouldn't you? We are at the Sydney Fringe Comedy Festival this week. Tonight. Come and see us. I know. We have shows from tonight, September 4th until September 9th. We have Nick Sun locked in, who's a lovely man.
A lot of live guests. Guys, if you like the podcast, just take 30 seconds out of your life and give it 5 stars. Write a review. Let people hear it. Please, we need this.
Share it with other little piggies. If you'd like to give us a word to go into the hat, please contact us at OinkTimePod. That's our Twitter handle. This is all made possible by our wonderful producer, Sean Allen. You can check him out and his podcast, In Brackets with Sean Allen. He makes it all happen, as in all of it. He makes it all happen.
And he does our theme songs for each episode. Guys, I am on Twitter at Ben Elwood11. I am also doing a solo Fringe show. It's on the 18th, 20th and 22nd of September. Please come.
Yes, see our show tonight, Oink Time at Sydney Fringe Comedy, and then check out Benny. Thank you, Sean Allen. Our guest tonight is, of course, the wonderful Jared Jekyll.
Jared Jekyll.
Arguably the most talented comedian. Probably. Not the funniest, but the most all-round talented.
Definitely.
Do you have a word you want to add into our hat?
I can put a word so I can really mess something.
Yeah, just suggest a word.
Oh, wow. It's not like a 3-word association, is it?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Anything like
Hypervigilance.
Hypervigilance. Hypervigilance.
Hypervigilance. Nice, good. And you don't want to worry that too many people have picked that word. Stay calm. Created a character based on how he looked. Does that make sense?
What's it like dating an elongated Eric Hutton?
Oh no, they both present exactly. Look, every person I've ever dated has the same vibe as Eric, if I'm being honest, but they're so different. They get along really well.
Everyone I date couldn't look more different.
Do you know that Eric and I dated, or are you just being weird?
No, of course.
Oh, thank God.
Who didn't know that?
I don't know, people.
When you and Eric were still overseas, you and Nixon and a bunch of people talked about you and Eric like you were like the prophecy. You're like, wait till you see these guys. They're like nothing.
Yeah, wait till you see them yell
as
in
a
public.
couple or as comedians?
It's comedians.
Oh, yeah.
Not as a couple.
See, we were talking about it. See, you think that we're all fucking out to get you.
I don't think you're all out to get me.
I don't think I'm that shallow, but everyone I've dated is a model. But I didn't know.
Don't you like that little subtle fucking
Bragging.
humble brag that
I
you did?
didn't-
I want to make a mental note that we are starting it now.
I didn't know though because I didn't think they were that pretty, but apparently they're all models.
Oh, that is such a fucking... You model, really?
I don't think
can you
you're as
imagine?
shallow as you think you are because you've expressed an attraction to guys that I would consider to be pretty goofy looking in the past.
I think that's cute, though. I think every
But that's
guy
not
I've dated
necessarily
is very attractive, but they're attractive to me. I guess that's not what people are after.
You're shallow in the way that you present well, and you're shallow in a different way.
How do you think I'm
I
shallow?
present well.
And I don't like that
Thanks,
you...
Jared.
No, you do. Yeah.
I'm a cutie.
Yeah.
I try
But
hard.
you dubbed me shallow before. I'd like to know based on what?
Oh, it's just a cockiness. You're really cocky.
You think
You
so?
are a bit
Really
cocky.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I
Well-
don't feel cocky.
Cocky in the sense that you are not afraid to say that if you feel like there's an injustice towards you, which often is not perceived as an injustice by other people.
I think you're cocky in a mental illness way, where it's either like total self-loathing or I'm the fucking best. Which is how I get.
That's like it's like totally that. It's the pendulum.
I think it's a Jewish
Is that how
thing.
you feel? It's a Jewish thing?
Is the podcast going?
The podcast
Yeah.
is going.
Oh,
No, but
fuck.
we can cut anything you're not comfortable
I meant to
with.
open with a line from Mein Kampf. Now I'm gonna have to do it at the end or something. Shallow.
Do you flip between? Because I do. I flip between like a complete messianic complex where I think I am just like the smartest, best person that's ever lived.
Yeah.
And then the next day, just scum on someone's shoe.
You probably have bipolar.
No.
See, I don't like those labels. I don't like this fucking... you know what I mean? I don't like this kind of like, I'm mentally ill. Really? Maybe you're just a fucking person.
Oh, I've definitely had
No.
bouts of manic behavior.
Me?
Which you've been witness to.
Yeah.
So it's there, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily diagnosable because it's not constant. But you've had bouts of up and down, Benny.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if I went to a shrink and described what my day-to-day psyche is like, they probably would say, "Oh, you've got some kind of mania, or you've got some kind of bipolar, or personality disorder."
Who still calls it a shrink?
Fuck off!
Oh,
I
if
know
I
I'm
went to
getting old.
A
now.
head
I
shrink.
feel it.
I'm into it though. I
What?
like the aging. I feel good. I'm
You look
so much
fresh.
happier
What?
now.
You look a lot younger than you did. Because you know how I look. You know I look pretty young. Do you think I look pretty young?
Yeah, I
You
think
are a
so.
young-looking guy, yeah.
Well, when I've shaved, I look like another 10 years younger.
Oh,
You have the same problem as I
yeah.
do. I haven't used a razor, a proper razor, for maybe 20 years because when I shave to skin, I get all puffy like a big
Well,
baby.
So, because I was going to say, like, you fit 30 to me because you have a full beard.
Yeah.
But if you shaved it, I'd easily be like, oh,
Not
he's
good.
21, how cute.
not
Like,
good.
you'd look way younger.
And then I had my lip piercings and stuff. But for
I forgot
most of
about
my
that.
life growing up, I had girls at least 10, 15 years younger than me hitting on me. And once you get past that cusp where you can't really tell how old anyone is, because I'm like, I look young, so maybe they look young or they're hyper developed or whatever. I had to like take 40 steps. Like I had to do a questionnaire before I went there. Because like I had some
What year are
real,
you born
I had
type
some
thing?
real near death experiences.
For
real.
near Long Bay prison sentences.
Yeah, for
With
real.
young gals.
With young gals, yeah.
And so like,
And they'd always be like, I don't care that you're older. And I'm like,
yeah, but I care.
the
that
police
I'm
do.
older.
The police
Fucking
care a lot.
lawmen.
Do you feel like now that you're in a long-term fiance
Monogamous?
ship?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that the like
Fiancé ship.
What I don't know. I don't
That's
know.
how foreign the concept
It's
is
so
to Ben.
silly.
Fiancé
Like,
ship.
no
Fiancé
offense,
ship.
but it's so. When you told me you were getting married, it's like
That is offensive. He's getting married. It's wonderful.
We know each other well enough for him to know that I don't.
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
I don't mean that in a
Totally.
malicious way. I just think the whole
You're-
institution is absurd.
You're
and
very on the fringe, though. Like growing up in the eastern suburbs, you said maybe you don't have mental illness, maybe you're just a person. But I know hundreds of people who definitely are boring, and they could go and get brain scans, and they really would pass for completely neutral.
Yeah.
like there is a difference.
I do believe we have a messed up gauge of normality because the people we hang out in comedy with
But
are
the- but
sometimes, like Jared
Most
just
people
said, on
don't
the fringe.
have any friends like we have.
no.
Yeah, and
that's
they're
so-
the
that's-
only
yes.
friends I have.
I was talking about this with my best friend of 20 years the other day, that he has a friend who has no true friends. She has people she has brunch with,
Yeah.
and she has people that they go to a wine tasting thing together, but she has
Mm-hmm.
no one that she can stand in front of and fucking, like I'm having a mental breakdown.
Totally.
It's
like,
lonely.
I can't imagine that reality, and
Yeah.
I feel like that might be more common than not.
It is. I think it is.
Yeah, that's its own thing. That's separate again.
But you
Also,
say,
it's your idea of friendship, because to me that seems lonely. But I have friends that I've been friends with for a very long time who, from getting to know them and having some awkward interactions, have learnt their boundaries of friendship, and their boundaries are way more ahead than mine. Like their boundaries are like, I don't want to discuss this or this or this or this, and that's how they perceive a friendship. Whereas for me, I'm like, oh, we're friends. We talk about everything. Yeah, but that's not the case.
But is
here.
there,
I know people that had lived alone and didn't have any friends, and they were very content with their suicide.
Oh. So early for
But
suicide.
you talk about like this, like, you're in the fringes and you think differently. I think there's that myth that comics in particular, or even artists, whatever, tell themselves like, we're damaged creatively, we're damaged and we're broken. But
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think that's true. I think everyone's damaged and broken. It's just comics or artists are more comfortable talking about it.
Yeah. I'm
That's all.
glad you didn't
Possibly.
say everyone else is damaged and broken, because I'm so sick of that fucking all comics being like nihilists and hedonists and being like, nah, it's everyone who watches Australian Idol is fucked.
I hate that
I hate
stuff.
that. My family all watches all of that television. I fucking love that television. It's silly, fun stuff. I don't fit in with my family at all.
Yeah.
But them and all of their friends, they've got a whole different universe, and it's not like right or wrong. You
Yeah,
know?
they're happy.
Like it's so different.
Yeah, I feel similarly where I'm like, that's what they do and they're fine with it and who gives a shit. If their biggest thing in their week is the person who won MasterChef, then let them be. Like I'm okay with that if they're satisfied and they're happy and they're contributing to society in a positive way and they're not hurting anyone.
I feel not sorry because that's so condescending, but I feel like you've cheated yourself if you've never stepped out of that life.
Of course.
Okay,
not.
but so think of the trashiest shit you watch. Like, I love Bake Off.
Yeah.
The Great British Bake Off makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stress how happy it makes me.
yeah.
It's people baking. There's no point of tension.
Yeah,
okay?
no.
And it fills me with joy. I would tell certain people that and they'd be like, what a fucking simpleton that she can sit and watch people baking.
Ben, get on it. You love
an hour.
baked goods.
But do you know what I
love
mean?
baked
Like,
goods.
it's just your gauge of where you're at. I tell certain people that and they're like, this chick's a fucking idiot.
But
like,
that's not the
it's just
totality. That's not the totality of what you consume.
Oh,
if all
it's
you
all I'm
consumed
into.
was fucking The Bachelorette and Bake Off, then
Hey,
you're a
Bake
fucking
Off is
simpleton.
a great fucking
It's
show.
fine because you pepper it in with a whole bunch of other shit. But
Yeah, a
if
lot
that's
of war
all
stories.
you're doing, if all you're doing is staring dead-eyed at fucking, reality TV and Kyle and Jackie O and all this fucking nonsense, then, I feel like, fine, if that makes you happy, but if you've never stepped out of it to see if something else made you happy, then I feel like there's some kind of injustice to your own
But that's
self.
their choice.
How amazing that they can sit there and watch hours of cartoons without putting stuff in their body and destroying their brain cells.
Yeah.
How amazing.
Well,
I don't take
do you think
stuff.
they do?
You don't take stuff.
Do you think
No, I'm
they
too
don't? Because we'll
unstable.
find sugar and caffeine and
Here we go.
booze and
Well, yeah, you're getting into that.
Here we go.
Well, see, my mum growing up, right?
Yeah, I know. I love this. You confront someone who does drugs. They're like, "Oh, coffee's a drug." Not the same as DMT.
I used to be like that. I was seeing this girl and she was so militant, like, don't take drugs, drugs are the worst. And she was full-blown addicted to sugar, coffee, chocolate, all day, every day.
It's not the same thing.
It's not
And
the
then
same thing, but it's definitely substance
I
abuse.
even breached, and she always would get sick, and I even breached out to being like, you have cough medicine, that's a drug, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And she was like, none of that it's not the same.
I think it is.
None of it's the same. It alters you. It definitely
It
alters
alters
you.
your mind.
It
Yeah.
does.
If I don't have my medication and I have like a chocolate bar, it triggers my hypomania.
Totally. Dude,
Yeah,
fucking
because it's
cut off the
sugar.
supply to booze, cigarettes, caffeine, and fucking, what's the other one? Sugar. Did I
You
say
know what
sugar?
it is? I guess there's less risk for the majority of people for falling into. I have crazy in the genes, which is why I don't do any drugs. I drink alcohol, but that's it. I have zero interest in other drugs because there's a huge amount of crazy in our genes.
No one told me we had crazy in our genes, so I just fucking unlocked schizophrenia at 16
Oh, no,
thanks
I'm
to
aware.
ecstasy. Thanks. And
See,
then
exactly,
mum's
that
like,
was-
oh yeah, everyone's fucked.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Everyone
is,
in our family has tried to hang themselves. Why didn't I tell you
But
that?
that's what I was going to say. Very rarely. The main difference is very rarely will a cup of coffee end in someone being hospitalized. Whereas I've had exes who aren't, I was going to say who aren't related, obviously, but I had an ex who was hospitalized from weed because it triggered some
I've
shit
had
in his
that.
brain that made him end up in a crazy house for a long time. So that's the main difference, I guess, when people say they're not the same. Coffee and chocolate, for most people, are not going to
Tip them over the edge.
exactly, whereas weed and ecstasy and
people-
all that other fun shit can.
People fear the dope fiend because the dope fiend is always in search for the next hit of dope and
Yeah.
can be and will do anything for that
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
If you cut the supply
Oh,
of
yeah.
caffeine,
Yeah.
sugar, and alcohol and cigarettes
It'll
off
be
from a major
exactly the
city, there
same.
would be blood in the streets within 3
There would not be
days.
blood in the streets.
There would be blood
angry
in the
people.
fucking streets, man.
But that's I understand what you're saying. People would be infuriated, but the same thing would happen if you cut off weed.
yeah.
The only
Oh, yeah, but that's
significant
inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. So the significant difference is that I know a person whose daughter ended up getting hospitalized because she smokes synthetic weed, and it was just bad luck. She's just a young kid who was experimenting. It should have been a safe experience because it was weed, and she's 16.
It was synthetic. That
And it
was
was
a big
synthetic,
mistake.
and she got hospitalized and started going through fucking crazy hallucinations.
Sounds like
That
a real
is-
pussy.
That is not going to happen if a 16-year-old goes out and has too much sugar at the movies. You know what I mean? Yes, people are going to withdraw from caffeine and sugar, but to suggest it's the same is just it's not.
Between 14 and 16, I smoked a bit of weed, and then around 17, I started doing pills. and my bipolar, a whole bunch of stuff got unlocked, and I had like a 3-year psychosis.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen with coffee.
Right.
But
That's my point.
I've done some dumb shit on coffee.
Oh, me too. Like, I've done crazy shit when I get, like, hyper from sugar and stuff. Even alcohol. I mean,
I once had kombucha.
too much yeast.
What did that do?
It's awful. It's awful. I don't want to have anything that has a SCOBY in it.
What's a SCOBY?
So bacteria.
That's the name of the mother.
It's the
It has a mother in it.
Oh,
It has a
like an
mother
apple
in it.
cider vinegar.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mother.
It's called a
makes it-
SCOBY.
Sounds
It's
like a tardigrade or
gross.
something.
So I had one venti from Starbucks, and then I was drinking kombucha. That's fucked, man.
I remember the first time I ever had, because I started working at Starbucks and I'd never had a coffee before then.
Oh,
And then
man.
At,
Starbucks was-
at training day, they were like, oh, now you've got to try all 32 blends of Starbucks coffee. And by the end of the day, it was like
How old
through
were you?
time. 19, maybe?
I remember being a baby at WOG weddings and they'd give you like coffee so you could keep going and not whinge.
Gee, not
Wow, as a
whinge.
baby.
Like
you
at
were a baby
Italian
on-
weddings. Like
Babies
they-
have coffee at an Italian wedding?
Well, they have the espresso at the end of the night, and if you're still awake, you're not going to cry about going home.
it's a piccolo
Isn't that unbelievable? My family used to do that as well. They'd have fucking espresso at 10 o'clock at night. What are you doing?
I
And then
think
you wonder
it's
why
fine.
you're an anxious Jewish mess? What the
Yeah.
fuck?
I think
Can't
it's
fucking
fine.
sleep? You wired?
I love coffee.
This is so good. Like, WOG and a couple of kikes just hanging out in a garage.
I think the coffee at night's fine.
Do you want to go to the word, Jared Jekyll?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so you reach into this
Just
hat.
quickly, can I have a hit of any of these things?
Yeah, do you want a
course.
fireball whiskey?
I would love a
Oh,
fireball.
please,
Alright, yeah.
please.
Here we go.
I don't drink at home anymore.
I didn't think you were drinking at all anymore.
Yeah, which is why we didn't offer.
So I have a freezer full of vodka. Basically, if I start, like, this isn't going to do
I like how
anything.
he
I
says this
know.
as I'm handing him the drink.
Yeah.
Ah, tricked you motherfucker.
Yeah, we both discussed it before you got here. Shit, okay, he's gonna
He's
because
done
we
the whole
both
thing.
talked about it. Where I was like, oh, I don't think Jared drinks, so we didn't offer you alcohol.
I'm very sensible now about any intake of anything.
Okay.
But I used to be.
Oh, I know.
You did just shot that fireball. You're welcome to have another drink if you would like.
Dad, I was living at home till I was 27.
Yeah.
That's
and it
pretty
was-
normal for Sydney.
Yeah.
But because I was
If you'd
so,
seen the house that he was living in, I would have stayed there till I was 27 as well.
Yeah.
it's what you call mansion.
Yeah, that's what you call a
Overlooking-
Jew mansion.
Overlooking the ocean. Anyway,
Beautiful.
our kitchen was made of gas chamber engine parts. It was, but the because I was so fucked up and my parents were very in denial, I remember having vodka for breakfast every day, and Dad would just say, "Do you really need that?"
Really?
In any other situation, they'd be like, "You're a fucking alcoholic, mate. We're getting you to rehab."
Yeah.
But my parents were so in denial.
So they would see you drinking it and just go,
I came home once from my first Mardi Gras. Mum's like, "You're right. This was my first time taking anything." Mum goes, "Your eyeballs are big as dinner plates." I said, "I just took a lot of ecstasy and then I went and vomited on the tiles."
Whoa.
And Mum's like, "I hope you clean that up."
Whoa.
Really?
Really?
Anyway, time to pick a thing out of a hat.
That's crazy.
my mum's like
I
the
had the most.
opposite.
I've only realised how fucked up my
That is
childhood
really
is
fucked,
recently.
Jared.
That's
That's
like-
so
They
fucked up.
enabled everything.
I
I
got picked up from a party one time by my mom when I was younger and I was hammered. And my friends had to call her because I was like passed out. My mum arrived and they were like, "Jen, your mum's car's here." And I thought I was being really smooth. I'd been like unconscious. I got into the back instead of the front. And my mum looked at me. She goes, "Oh, God, you're drunk. Don't you dare vomit in my new car." And she opened the window. She's like, "Put your head out the friggin' window. God, Jennifer." Like, so fucked off.
so
but she
good.
addressed it then and there. Like, she was just like, and the next day when I felt like shit, she's like, "Yep, this is what's going to happen if you're going to do that." Like, rubbed it in my face. But at least she acknowledged it. Fuck. If she didn't say anything, it'd be horrible.
I've got 2 great cab vomit stories.
Oh.
One, I was dropping a girl home. I was like a friend of hers. She was way too wasted. I was like, we were going to get together, and I was like, no, this is irresponsible.
That's very
I
nice
feel
of
that
you.
in the
Good.
next 10 years is going to be a Me Too movement.
You were you're probably like one of the only dudes that she like remembers as a cool guy. But keep going.
So she was like dry reaching. What do you guys say?
Yeah, dry retching.
Retching.
And the driver was like, you better not vomit in my cab. It's going to cost you a bunch. Anyway, she starts throwing up. And then he pulls over and I got out of the cab and he's like, you better pay for that. So I paid for it.
The
That's
cab
nice
or
of
the
you.
vomit?
I paid for the vomit. I paid to have. If you're rich, you can like pay them up front and take your shit in there. If you want. But the driver like decked me.
What?
And sped
Punched
off.
you?
Like she got out of the car too, decked me in the ear, and this is when I had my stretcher, and he cracked like the
Why?
piercing in my ear, like the perspex smash. I don't know. I paid him, and then I also lost my wallet. Now that I think about it, he might have taken my wallet.
That's so fucked up.
And then in Amsterdam, I was on Kentucky. I'm not rich. I was like, faux rich. So I went to Kentucky.
Faux rich. How dare you?
Hey,
you
faux
fuck.
rich.
Yeah, faux rich.
I'm fake
all right.
rich.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Well, it's
Not when your parents die, but anyway.
No, they actually have nothing.
What?
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Anyway,
a lot of people make good investments and they own a good property because life
I've
was
been
different
in
back
that
then.
fucking house. You are not faux rich.
I'm loaded. But anyway, so we're in Amsterdam and I was going to chuck in this cab and the driver's like, don't chuck in the cab. So I got out. I was blind. I'd had that night bottle of red, bottle of white, half a bottle of rosé.
Oh my God,
Right?
yuck.
And lots of French onion, like bread soup, whatever the fuck
Sexy,
they have.
yes.
Anyway,
That smelled real good.
I chunded, like this was a chunder, and it went for ages, and I was like a cat, like doing and it was
I feel
on
a bit
these
sick seeing that
on
now.
this door, this big red door, and it was like splashing everywhere. And then I got up and moved back, and these security guards threw me into the street, and I looked up, and I just threw up on the Moulin Rouge. Like all over the Moulin Rouge.
That's like very appropriate. Wait, you were sitting
No.
in Amsterdam?
Moulin Rouge
Did I
is
say
in
Amsterdam?
France.
Yeah.
It's in
Where's
Paris.
France.
Paris.
Oh fuck! Listen, all right. So
In
this
Paris?
is me. This is me when I'm sober. It's not good.
It wasn't the Moulin Rouge. It was a fucking poster at a bus stop.
No, this
They
was
probably
this,
had a little red, what are they called?
this was in Paris. I mix up
In Paris.
everything.
I've only ever thrown up like maybe 5 or 6 times in my entire life, and
Oh,
never from.
fuck off.
Seriously.
Go away.
I wish that I had a stomach that would vomit. There's been so many nights of my life where I'm like, just get it out of me, and it will not. And I've never vomited from substance abuse ever.
I vomited all the time.
Never.
I have like 2
Food.
ciders, and because it's so
Yeah, me
sugary, I
too.
vomit out
Can't-
my
can't
nose.
vomit.
Me too.
Dude, you don't know how much I would like. Seriously, there's so many times in my life where it's a just.
Not food, but alcohol. If I drink beer, like I get I go really red if I have white wine that has too many preservatives and stuff in it. Like I get a rash.
It's the preservatives.
It's the crap in it. No, but I do
Yeah.
get really, really sick from it and I'll wake up and I won't even have drunk that much. I'll have 2 glasses. If there's shit in it, I'll be sick. Same with beer. If there's, I don't know what's in it, but some beers make me really
My
sick.
stomach is steel. It's like it's in
Food,
constant.
I'm okay, but
I went to
alcohol,
a
not as much.
one of those blue moon parties, but it was in Vietnam.
You mean full moon parties?
Full moon? Is that what it's called? I don't fucking know shit. Okay,
Full
so
moon parties in Asia? I don't know if they have blue moon parties.
as
That
a
sounds
kid,
dirty.
as a
It's like
kid,
Blue Lagoon.
as a kid, I was quite dyslexic, and since I've been sober, it's come back in a big way.
A full
I
moon
write
party.
things, none of it makes any sense. And anyway, full moon party.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds different.
No,
I've been
they
saying
do
blue
them.
moon for years. Anyway, so I was
They're
cheating.
fun.
It's a party.
I was cheating on my girlford and for 2 years, and I was
not
kissing
cool.
this girl who was a family friend. And we both just started vomiting because we were drinking those jam jars, and I was like, "Fuck it, if I'm gonna cheat, I'm gonna cheat." And then we just started macking again, and we were like half vomiting in each other's mouth while we were pashing.
That's so disgusting.
Time to pick a word.
Did you tell your mum about that one? Oh, that's normal. Totally fine.
No, but mum, I almost came on my mum, but maybe we can talk
Yeah,
about.
no.
Should I talk about that before I
If
open
you want.
this?
Yeah, because I feel like we can't not now. And you have a word, so
It's not that weird. It's not that weird.
How can we
It's
end
not
it
that
there?
weird. So I was wanking.
It is that fucking weird.
You remember when the monitors, like, you could actually turn on and off the monitor? It was separate to your
Yeah.
hard drive. Like, you'd
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
So I had porn up, had my dick in my hand, and I was having a wank.
great.
I've never talked about this before.
I've actually got a story after
I was
this.
having a
video.
wank,
Oh,
and
God.
you've got the lube or shampoo, whatever the fuck, hotel shampoo, the like
Toothpaste.
bubbles on your dick, whatever it is, whatever's like sloppy, whatever becomes viscous with saliva, and some toilet. And honestly, if someone barges in, you're like, I've got to hide my dick, I've got to turn off the porn, I've got to get rid of the lotion or the tissues because you
Everything.
can't have the two together. And I I smashed all the
Lotion?
the lotion and the tissues. I turned off the screen and I stood up with my pants down and forgot I was still wanking. Like everything went in slow motion, and as the door was opening, I came like behind the door at like moments before Mum was in the doorway, and then I pulled down my t-shirt. And she saw me with my pants down, so I'm sure she knew. But truly, if we're talking like
That is
half a
so
meter worth of
fucked up.
door swing, I would have come on my mom. Anyway,
I had to say, wait, before you do that.
I feel bad for your mum.
In the
and,
mid-1990s, our home computer was in my mum's bedroom. And so, you know, I would go in
I was like 5 then.
I would go in there to fucking jack off. And, you know, when you're youthful, you have like a projection that you cannot recreate as an adult. Like it flies. And I was jacking off.
I miss that.
And I came and you know, and of course, like, you know, I came down from the orgasm and it's like, whoa, that was really fucking intense. And then I looked around and there was no cum. Like I couldn't. There was the cum.
Everyone's lost their cum a few
The cum had
times.
disappeared completely.
Do you lose
It had
it?
shot over my shoulder, gone up the length of her bed, and landed in the middle of the open book that was lying on her pillow, and just like this massive fucking
That's
wad, like
so
in the
good.
middle.
Mothers of teenage boys
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
deserve fucking medals
Yeah.
for living through that filth.
Yeah.
I was once at my mate's
You're
house.
subhuman when you're
It's
that age.
fucking
It's not
disgusting.
even. Yeah, it's disgusting.
You are just an animal.
Yeah, no, you are.
Just shitting and
You
coming
are
on
shitting and
stuff.
coming.
It's fucking disgusting.
Speaking of cum in books,
Jesus Christ.
I actually want. Anyway, no, I won't. No.
Coming in books?
Just read the word.
Oh, yeah, the word. Okay. Jared Jekyll's word from the hat is...
Hypervigilance. Dan Rath.
Dan Rath gave
He
us
is my
that.
favourite Aspie guy, hey. No, I asked him. I was like, hey, you know, Schnick, you're kind of like on the spectrum. Do you think you're on the spectrum? As someone who's a bit on the spectrum, asking someone who's... do you think you're... And he's like, yeah, I think I am, hey. I'm like,
He definitely is.
I
You're
think he is.
the most Asperger's person I've ever met in my entire life.
But incredibly charming and social.
And
Oh,
very
so
bright.
funny. But if he shot up a school, would not be surprised. Okay, hypervigilance.
Are we going to stick with hypervigilance?
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel a bit... can you please tell me what this means? As in being hypervigilant.
It's how you interpret the word. How you are you a
Right,
hypervigilant
right.
person?
Would you call vigilant like alert? Is that
Yeah,
kind of...
yeah,
Yes.
that's
that
what it
realm?
is. It's like hyper aware and
Okay,
like
cool.
sensitive and yeah.
I saw that. I was like, I know what hyper is. I know what vigilance is. Sure, cool. Hypervigilance. That's
It's
such
one of the most bizarre words we've had in the hat.
Oh, do I get to put a word in there?
Yeah,
after
yeah,
this?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
You do. So start that fucking brain cooking.
Oh, yeah. I can't...
Are you hyper? I feel like I am
I already am.
hypervigilant to the point of mental illness.
I'm hypervigilant to the point where it's exhausting for anyone who spends any time with me.
Yeah.
I'm very
Every time I sit on the bottom carriage of trains because if the train derails, it'll be less far to fall.
Oh no, I'm not like that.
It's that kind
I
of
used to-
like, you know, like if I go to a cinema, it's like, where's the exit? Okay, the exit's there. So if the shooting starts, that's where you run. It's that kind of like constantly on edge waiting for the
You're
fucking
just
shit
a
to hit the
Jew.
fan.
You're a hyper Jew. That's all it
You're
is.
a hyper Jew.
Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm hyper aware of everything all the time, but I'm more in tune with humans than surroundings. So you say when you're at the movies, you're aware of the exit. I'm aware of the people around me. And I'm like, oh, is that guy going to punch me in the head? Like, I'm very aware of humans and if they act out
I
of
get
character.
like that.
Yeah, like I'm to the point where I think it's pretty unhealthy. Like I could probably be diagnosed.
What, that you're projecting your fucking anxieties onto their behavior?
No. Just from my own lived experience, I'm ultra aware of people and their emotions and their ability to flick and change and feeling safe in a situation. Or like sometimes people will be like, oh, you can fuck with that guy. And it's like, no, that guy could kill you.
Yeah.
Like I'm more aware of that.
Would you say you're an empath? Do you think you're
yeah,
an empath?
yeah. To the point where it's
It's
irritating.
painful? Yeah. Carly's like that.
It's very irritating.
See, Carly's so lucky. She is hypervigilant in a very relaxed, sane state.
Yeah.
She picks up on everything. Whereas
too.
I am
Everything.
so fucking overtly, like, I have to engage with it all to really take it in.
Yeah.
Which is why, especially if I've had a coffee, like, you don't want to be around me. Carly hates it. Carly is like the most chill person ever.
That must be
That's
lovely,
why you
though,
guys
because
are yin
that's
and
a nice
yang.
balance.
Well, she's Polynesian and I'm a fucking Jew.
Yeah.
So we're both late to everything. But aside from that, like, she's always chill and I'm
literally
just
late
like
tonight.
firing off at the mouth. Oh yeah, coconut time and Jew time. We don't have a cool like name for that.
Jew time.
We don't have a cool how do you like the Jewish goodbye? I always thought that was a fucking joke. My mum, we could be
What's
leaving
the Jewish
at 5.
goodbye? Because
no, I
my
know
boyfriend
exactly
and I
what
had
you're
an
fucking
argument
talking
about
about.
the wog goodbye.
Yeah.
So
Me standing in the
Italians.
fucking street,
Chris and I had a
blocking
fight
foot
about
traffic
this.
for half an hour.
Okay.
You just and another thing.
Yeah, so no shit, my boyfriend and I actually had an argument, and then my sister and I had an argument because when we left, Chris left quickly. So we were at, like, my family were at a dinner, and you go, okay, I'll see you soon, happy birthday. And then he said, why do you go outside and then say goodbye again and then walk to the cars
And do the
together
honking on the car.
and then
Beep,
say
beep.
goodbye again? It takes my family like a good half hour. And I didn't know until you have an external perspective. Go, hey, this
Until
is
you have a
fucking
white person tell
weird.
you.
Yeah, no, but there's-
An angry South African going, why do you keep saying goodbye?
I think for Jews, it's because you never know when there's going to be another Holocaust. So you're like, and one more. They're not taking me to the ghettos. I want one more thing.
It's so weird though, like, because you don't realize how much it makes people stressed. It's seriously.
They're trying to develop their vaudeville act. They're like, let's get our shit together so we don't get thrown in immediately. Can you juggle? I can't.
This is very weird for me because this is seriously an argument we had like 2 nights ago, and I don't know where to place it because
It's
I
just
didn't know we did
ethnic
it.
groups.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
fucking love
I didn't
to
know
talk.
that it happened until someone acknowledged it to me. And I had to talk to my sister, my other sister, Monica, about it. I was like, Cassandra and I had a fight because she got freaked out the way Chris and I left because he said goodbye and we left. And Chris gets really stressed when we say goodbye a lot. And she's like, it's a WOG thing. And I was like, is it? Like, I wasn't
it is.
even aware of
My-
it
It's a
happening.
Jewish thing, Mediterranean,
No,
Middle
it
East.
is.
It's just
my roommate's dad is like an Irish New York Jew. Not Jew. He's an Irish Catholic that grew up in the Bronx.
God, this sounds-
and we were talking about all this the other day.
what's his MC name?
Someone was carrying on. He just goes, these goddamn Semitic races and their emotions. It's so fucking true, man. It's so true.
It's so strange. You grow up with what you think is normal until someone else tells
But
you.
it
it's
is
not.
normal.
No, my
It's-
family, it's very ridiculous. Like,
Don't you-
everyone's so fucking sensitive. If you don't
I think
say goodbye
everyone
the
is
right
sensitive.
way, and if you don't look at each other the right way, no, not everybody
Carly
is.
has changed my outlook on my entire family.
Oh, really? Yeah, because
of
it's outside perspective.
it's so unusual for her because her family's so laid back, whereas my
Polynesian.
family are all yelling over each other,
Yeah, that's my
non sequiturs, left, right, and center. But the Jews find this way of all talking at one time, like 4 different subjects,
know.
and everyone's picking up on
Everyone's
everything.
yelling.
Whereas
everyone's
Carly
okay
has
with
no
it.
idea what's happening.
Yeah, and everyone always. I remember one of the husbands of an auntie of mine, came out, not part of our family, and came from a very Catholic family. And I think it took him years to realize that when we were all sitting around the dinner table screaming at each other, that we weren't actually fighting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't angry. It was just
But
like,
so-
we're just talking.
But I hate this because I don't understand. Because, like, my family's not Jewish.
I
My
like how you're
grandfather.
gesticulating like a fucking old Italian widow.
My grandfather was in a camp because he was Hungarian and he was Unitarian, and he was in a camp, so he had the tattoo and everything. So that explains my mum. But, like, I don't understand how certain cultures boil that way and other cultures. Like, with my partner, I've had to say, like, they're not fighting, they're talking.
It's
Maybe
cultural.
because we
Because
were
it's-
silenced for so long. So we're like,
Yeah,
you know, like
maybe,
when you go
but-
through a tunnel and you hold your breath? It was
No,
like that for
it's-
40
I don't know.
years.
No, because I feel like
But
that,
I'm trying to go the other way, where it's. See, I just interrupted you. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to go the other way, where
I am
it's
so
like,
sorry. I interrupted both
people
of you.
relax and just talk because it's so
Yeah.
fucking foreign, where you like sit and people just
I actually
talk.
think that it's
more
more
nice.
This is actually more normal, and because we live in
It's only because it's normal to you, though.
Yeah.
No. Listen,
It freaks other
you look
people
at
the fuck
if
out.
you look at the majority of countries in the world,
Sure.
most people are actually quite alive. I think we live in a in an anglicized kind of white community,
true.
and the edicts of that community is no, deny
yeah,
reality,
yeah.
keep it in. We don't
Well-
defecate, we don't burp, and we're not animals, we're human beings.
Well, this is an
And
interesting
it's
thing about
suppressed.
Australia. If you go far back enough, we were considered brown people, which is hilarious because we're white. But my parents were considered brown and other.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, it's like that whole thing. But I just think it's really interesting because I don't think those people who are waiting for each other to finish their sentences aren't enjoying their conversation. They
No,
are.
oh my God. Like
And I find it refreshing. I'm trying to do it.
Are they?
I don't know.
Because they talk about shit and boring shit.
No, they talk
like
about the
fucking
same
Game
stuff.
of Thrones and
I'm
fucking
not a fan.
They
nonsense.
listen to each other. I'm trying to learn how to listen.
I'm listening to
most
you
of my
guys.
conversations at the moment revolve around Game of Thrones because I only started watching it.
It's very
Yawn.
good.
And it was a
No.
lot. It was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Very good.
Have you seen it?
I
You've seen
love
it, right?
I got bored after the third season.
Ben's cynical. It's
I'm,
so
I'm
good.
cynical of a
Yeah,
fucking
but you watch
TV
you
show.
pop an acid. You watch pop an acid. How fucking old you are? But you watch your Cosmos docos and you know
I
want to
like
stick your dick in a
Cosmos
black
and
hole. But
Adventure Time.
No,
I'm a
it's
big Adventure
awesome.
Time
Game of
I
Thrones,
stand by the
like
fact it's
action-
awesome.
Oh yeah, they crushed another head and they stabbed a bitch. Well,
It is a good escapist
lame.
It's not
series.
just-
Escapist. Watch Adventure Time. That's a good escapist
No.
series.
that's so that
The
is-
greatest.
That's
The
from
greatest.
another dimension.
The most joyful and
find it
beautiful thing
hard
this
to get
toxic
in.
culture has ever fucking produced. May
I
say.
watched Breaking Bad way after everyone else, and I was gobsmacked with how incredible I thought it was.
Yeah, Breaking Bad's great.
And I think
just a
Game of
fucking show.
Thrones. I hate
They're
medieval.
all just fucking shows.
They're all
Adventure
just shows,
Time's just a
bro.
fucking
I
show.
get it, but when you hear fully grown humans losing their fucking minds over a show to the exclusion of all other topics,
I'm
it's
sorry.
exhausting.
Tell us again about how brilliant Adventure
It's
Time
much better.
is.
Talk about other shit.
It's much better to hear about a near 40-year-old with no children talk about how much he loves cartoons. God, I sounded so fucking
Oh, I
elitist
love
then.
taking Valium and lying in bed watching Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
Exactly,
Anyway,
but
Game
see,
of Thrones
I
is
sit
great.
there sober and watch people get raped and have the time of my life.
That is a downer when
I
they do
can't
that a lot.
bear it, man.
The rape is horrible.
I can't bear that show.
It's so
fucking
violent.
boring. It's just violent and awful.
The violence is full on, but it's.
I
do
like
like
it.
the
Watch a
show.
history documentary if you want intrigue.
I watch enough. It's a downer to watch those.
I love it because what I never expected is that it's a fucking soapy.
Yeah, it's
Like
Oh,
a
it's a total
multi-million-dollar soapy
Yeah.
with lots of violence and lots of swearing.
But don't you think Breaking Bad is
A
as
little
well?
girl just said cunt and it was breathtaking.
No, but all those shows, like Breaking Bad is as well.
Yeah,
They
it
leave you
is.
on the cliffhanger, and it's exactly the same as
But
like.
it's suburban.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad was the perfect example of suburban.
I hate talking about. I really hate talking about shows. But were you guys satisfied with how Breaking Bad ended? With that last episode?
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember how it ended. I did watch it and love it, but I don't remember how it ended. So what does that say? Probably not.
Yeah.
I was fine with it.
I thought it was too neat, and I like the theory that the real ending of that show is that he died alone of cancer in that hut in the snow.
No spoilers.
No, whatever. It's a fucking 10-year-old show. And then the last episode, you know how the last episode everything's so neat?
I
and
don't
tidy?
remember this
It was
at all.
very neat.
But it's almost like that's his fantasy of how he wished it had all gone.
Yeah.
And, that's why it was so clean.
If he didn't die, I would have been disappointed. But because he died, I was cool with it.
Nah,
Did he die?
well, he gets, yeah.
We think. He is just the
It's up in the
best
air.
anti-hero, I think, of all time.
Yeah, it's a good show, but it's just a show.
But no, I totally agree. It's a soapy.
But see, as someone who wants to make movies and stuff, I find a show is not just a show. I find it like it gives me life.
No, I'm the same with movies and music and stuff. No, look,
It
don't get me wrong.
inspires me,
I guess what I rail against is that I was like fully on board with nerd culture back when nerd culture got you called a faggot on the bus for reading comic books. You know what I mean? And now this kind of
When
culture.
you were the other.
Yeah, and now this culture has been co-opted by
Now
the
Benny's
mainstream.
Yeah, but God, imagine being a nerd and gay. You can still get called a faggot.
But it's this thing where all of a sudden the people that were so against it are, the most devoted and the
course.
loudest about it.
Of course.
And it seems to be that most conversations now are about things that people watched rather
course.
than anything
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
substance.
sure.
So I don't care about having a conversation about Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones or whatever, but it just seems like most conversations these days
Sure.
are about that kind of stuff rather than anything really.
Right.
Well, this is why
Does that make sense?
Yes, I can't relate because I don't talk to a lot of people about TV stuff, but I understand what you're saying. I think.
Eavesdropping on the bus. It's just like you'll hear fully grown men going, "Oh, Black Panther should be nominated for Best Picture." Shut
But
the
I think they're
fuck
just
up.
they're
No,
just trying to
that's-
find an outlet. But they're just
Were
trying
they
to find
white?
an outlet.
Of course
Always
they were
white.
white. Of course they were white.
But don't you think they're looking for an outlet
Black
from their
Panther
life?
should have been directed by Wes Anderson. That would have made it perfect.
I
Anyway, so
don't
back to
mind.
hypervigilance.
Don't you think? Okay, no. Back to that point I was making before. I think that it's actually normal to be very emotive and stuff, but I think white culture, as it's kind of evolved over time, because white culture is just an imitation of the aristocracy and the royalty, just kind of those beliefs and ways.
I don't know if you
filtering
can
down.
simplify
Yeah, and as someone who's
entire
Semitic,
world
I
of-
don't appreciate you putting the word culture on
Do you
the end
know,
there.
this is interesting. My partner's brother-in-law was saying he's Persian and Persians consider themselves the original Aryans. How funny is that?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but how wonderful is that? Like,
Oh,
it
look
just
at-
Yeah,
shows
the original
how
Aryans
none of
were
it...
not white.
Look
yeah,
at the
but it
fucking
shows
word.
how none of it means anything.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
The
like,
word Semitic.
Yeah.
We've been told that we've been, made to believe that anti-Semitic means anti-Jews, whereas the Semitic region is like the whole
Yeah,
Middle
it's the
East.
whole Middle
Yeah.
East.
So when people talked about Arab-Israeli conflict and it being anti-Semitic, it's just Semitic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
anti-Semitic,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
across the board.
Yeah. So I
But
think
don't you
it's
think
strange to say like white, cult, because it's like, what do you refer? Like,
Well,
I feel like Irish, you can't say that because like even if you look at somewhere like Ireland and England, they're neighbours, and Scotland, but they're so different in how they do things.
No, I know,
It
but
feels kind
there's
of.
definitely a kind of like friends of mine that have grown up in strictly kind of Anglican, like English European households have a harder time accessing emotion than
Oh, yeah.
my
But I feel like my
European,
family can access this-
African friends.
I
you
feel
know,
like
on and on
ours
and
is
on.
just accessible because it's related to trauma. Like I feel like people
Yeah,
scream
right.
out their
But that's-
emotions and
You
like.
think that's what it is?
In a way, yeah. I mean, like my partner is from South Africa, and they're a white South African family, but they have their own stuff going on, which deals with anxiety and stuff. Because you walk down the street, you got a fucking gun on you, so they have mental illness and all that kind of fun stuff.
What did Chris think of the apartheid? Like out of
can
5.
ask Chris. He was.
What was his Yelp review about the apartheid?
This is probably too little.
It sounds like a Christopher Nolan film, doesn't
But
it?
I feel like, yeah, anyway, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it just has to do with trauma and stuff because my family yell, but they yell too much. And they're my family are too sensitive to the point where it is dysfunctional. Like
Yeah.
leaving a restaurant and my partner saying, let's go buy everyone. And that being an issue is pretty dysfunctional.
Maybe
Yeah.
some trauma's health. Like, I
don't know. I'm not saying that very well, but yeah.
No, no, man.
I dated a string of girls who thought like Jewish was
Hello,
a novelty.
string.
Dude, every
Right?
fucking woman I've
And they
ever been
thought,
with
like-
has a Jew fetish.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Unbelievable. As soon as they hear that, you almost see their pupils dilate when they hear Jew. It's like, oh, you're a Jew.
it's
It's like
like-
there's some like, oh, you're wounded and
You know
broken.
why? Because
Exactly.
the connotations are like intelligent, sensitive.
it?
Yeah, Jewish people.
It
are,
pisses
like,
me off. Like the gay fetish. I'll never understand that. How a girly girl, will abuse a gay friend as like an accessory.
Oh, like the handbag thing.
No, totally.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
beard.
Like a beard, a fag hag. I hate that.
Yeah,
I-
right.
I had to talk to some of my gay friends, and I was like, "Do you know that I don't think they like you as much as they love that they have this like camp fucking like a viral video as a friend."
That's horrible.
And they'd never thought about it like that because I've seen so many women take advantage of gay men like that. Just like I've seen women date Jews just because they love how broken they are. That's so fucked up.
He's a fixer-upper.
He's a fixer-upper, yeah.
I think the stereotype of Jewish guys, Jewish people in general is
Big dicks. That's what I
intellectual.
think of when I think of Jews. Big dicks.
But
You think black dicks are big. Jews have big dicks.
I think it's like bright.
I've got the
and
biggest dick.
dicks and no, but I think people have. I don't
I was
know.
the first person at school to be like, listen, guys, I have a tiny dick. I have a tiny Jewish dick.
Yeah, I used to make fun of
And then
my
they fucking
little
went and
dick,
cut
yeah.
off a bit of it too. A bunch of cunts.
Oh,
Why did they ask you? And you know the whole moil thing? I didn't have a
Oh,
moil.
it's disgusting.
I didn't have a moil. I'm very anti-circumcision. I'm
think-
circumcised, but I'm very anti it.
I'm anti it too.
Yeah, I think it's genital mutilation, guys.
I think it is
It
as well.
is.
I think
And
it's
the men who
fucked up.
have it, you're less sensitive.
I think
and,
if when you were living in the desert 2,000 years ago and there was sand everywhere, cool.
well,
I-
traditionally in like the rabbi sucks the blood and
Yeah,
lots
man.
of,
That's the moil.
Fuck.
but
They
lots of
up.
babies
just
have
sucked out
died
little
from,
baby dick.
Our dear friend
it's not-
Sam
I don't
Bowering
know if
has
I'm
the
into
funniest
that.
bit about circumcision because he's very, very anti, and he's also cut. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, but and very angry.
I don't think
he does. But he's very angry about. Like I'm not angry about it. I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, he's bummed
But
out.
he's very like, it's not right. And he's got this whole bit about, they say that they cut off the end of a dick so that it can't get infected. Well, how about when the baby gets born, we lop off its right arm because it might get arthritis there one day. And then over the course of the bit, the baby's getting every bit of its body cut off until it's just a face left so it never actually suffers any kind of disease for the rest of its life.
You've just opened a wound because my dick has osteoarthritis.
Didn't you fucking get some kind of dick surgery a while
Oh,
back?
yeah, when I was born. Okay, so this is the second. No, I spoke about this on your podcast that never aired.
Yeah.
So here we go. Listen up because I know you guys have got some followers. So I was born.
Dick story. Here we go.
No,
You had a hole in your dick, right?
Now I'm 30. Like,
Don't they all
I
have
remember-
a hole?
No, like a hole in the side.
when I started comedy, you were like an idol of mine. 100%. No, you're not just a
Ben's
comedy idol.
secretly really
Not just a
into
comedy
this.
idol.
Come
Like
on,
I thought
Betty.
you really inspired me in so many ways.
Really?
Honestly.
Oh, that's
honest to
awesome.
God.
Oh, that's very sweet.
No, like you
I don't-
and
now that he's known me for a long enough time, I'm no longer held in such high regard.
And I didn't realize you were right. Like, I became jaded so much earlier. So let's talk about my fucked up dick. So I was born with what they call a hyperspadias.
What is that?
Hyperspadias. That'll be my word. Hypervigilance to hyperspadias. Basically, it's a really neat way to get girls look at your dick and vomit.
Man.
So what happens is when the body is forming inside the embryonic sac. So the penis, the body basically
Sexy talk.
this is really gross.
Yum,
the body
yum.
basically gets sewed up, right?
Okay.
All of our creases, it's like it gets zipped up.
Yeah.
And what happens is the penis, as it's getting zipped up, it zips up till it leaves a little hole in the top.
Okay.
Whether you're circumcised or not, there's a little hole in the top. So what happens with hyperspadias, when you get like your shirt, you've seen someone get their shirt caught in a fly,
Yeah.
and the bit of the shirt will stick out, but the fly will keep going up.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to my dick. So basically, it started zipping up underneath the shaft. Then the hole formed there.
Oh, my
And then it
goodness.
continued zipping up.
Oh, my goodness.
So
I know this story. And
So I had a hole- I
My
had a
penis just
hole-
became an internal organ.
I had a hole on the underside of my penis.
Okay, that's fine.
It's fine. It's
Yeah, I like
fine.
how you say, that's fine, as you cover your entire face.
Jen's trying not to throw up dinner.
No, I just haven't. I've never heard of it, so I wasn't.
Yeah,
and
so-
I didn't know where this was going, and I didn't think it was going here. But
So
that's
basically,
fine. It's fine.
the hole can be anywhere along the shaft, including where the testicles meets the base,
No.
right, all the way down there.
And
Wait.
how does a hole present? Does it present like the tip?
No,
Is it like a urethra?
That's
So-
what I mean. Yeah, I
okay,
said it
so
badly.
I still
Does-
have the tip.
I
But
know.
there's
Yeah, we
no,
assume you
no,
still
but
have the
there's
tip
no,
of your-
no, as in
But there's a hole.
Wait, there's no hole in the...
the Jap's eye, let's say.
You have no...
So
What does that mean?
There's
the hole that the piss comes out
there's
of.
The pee hole.
The pee and
There's
cum
the
hole.
little pee hole, but it's closed. There's no, like it wasn't. It didn't. Like it just
Oh,
never.
no.
The urethra opened up my shaft instead of out
So
the
you
top.
pissed out of the side
So
of your
you
shaft and
peed-
not
The
out
bottom, right?
That could be really messy.
Oh, it was terrible. I used
think
to.
that would be very
For
upsetting.
how long?
Wait.
Did you know
From
that you were
what I
abnormal?
remember as a-
Did you know that
Wait,
you weren't normal?
wait. It's gonna be worse. It's gonna be worse. As a kid, though, I think not
that
only
mean condoms
was the
are
hole
there?
out the bottom, I think my penis was upside down because I remember peeing up.
Did just cum leak out on your balls? Like what happened?
No. It's all patched up now.
Wait a second. Where are your balls? On the top or the bottom? I'm confused.
Here's me going like, I got a bit offended then. I was like, Jared, you walked right into this. You're like,
Are they on the bottom?
no,
His balls
My
are in the
balls,
same
every-
place. He's got
everything's
balls coming out
normal.
the head of his cock.
No.
But he said that he. No, I mean,
everything's
like,
normal. My balls are next to my feet, right?
I'm just.
They come out my Achilles tendon
feel
like
very
everyone else.
overwhelmed.
But anyway, so when I was really little, so I didn't get a breast. I got circumcised in the hospital,
Yeah, so did I.
right?
Yeah.
So if anyone
No, but as
sucked
in you
my
didn't
dick, it
go
was
through
a
the Jewish rite. Oh, that's
the
disgusting.
moil. They're like,
Can you imagine being a moil?
just some fucking pedophile working there. He's like, yeah, I'm a moil. Let
I
me
think
suck that
it's-
baby cock.
Oh, and yet Sean again walks in.
Sean
while we're
again. Are you a
talking.
Sean again,
Sean
Christian?
has a talent for walking in when we're talking about the best stuff.
Anyway, so they sewed up the hole and they moved it up a bit.
So they had
the-
to drill a new hole
Wait
in
a
your
second.
cock.
Where is your pee hole? Is it at the end?
No.
Whoa.
It's like just under the head. It's just under the head.
So, whoa.
Really?
Yeah, it fucked me up for at least most of my life.
So it's
For at least
so
most
does
of
that
my
mean
life.
the top of it is just a covered helmet?
No. So I'm circumcised. So okay, from the top down, looks like a gorgeous porn dick. Perfect.
But
Except
from the top down, right? From
Bragging.
your
from me
perspective.
down, it looks 100%
So when you're
normal.
looking down
Yes,
at your
yes.
cock, it looks like
And
a
it still
normal-
has the little helmet, the little mushroom, whatever you'd like to call
But
it.
the
But the hole is
hole-
underneath that.
As in on a 90-degree angle?
Yes. So instead of here, it's there.
So you come down.
Whoa.
So you shoot down.
But the hole's kind of like
So no, he shoots like
on a gradient, so it shoots out. Anyway.
And wait.
So when someone's like,
when did you
when
get-
someone's like, "Come on my tits," I have to aim for the headboard.
It's like a fucking sniper rifle with a faulty sight.
I feel so confused.
But
Anyway,
wait. When did they reconstruct your penis?
as a baby. I
okay,
I had
so-
plastic surgery on my dick as a baby, and I'll never forget. And I hate that my mum said this. I don't know why she didn't think this would fuck me up more. She goes, "And Jared, the doctor said this was the worst case he's ever seen." So I start Googling it, and yeah, it's pretty bad.
Your family is the best.
They're just a bit like, I love him.
Oh, see, I thought when you said that you would literally been like pissing out the side of your cock for your whole life, and
No,
this was
he's-
only recently fixed.
Okay,
Pissing
so-
low
No, but when you described
Pissing
it,
down.
No, I
Down.
get that now.
and low.
But I thought that you meant that you had a hole in the shaft of your penis for most of your life, and it was kind of coming out like in a triangulated.
Yeah, but
pattern.
no, but you did. It does.
Bellagio
It does
fountains.
though. And because I had skin grafting, I had to like train. I sat down to pee for like 20 years
Sitting
of my
down
life.
to pee is highly underrated. I sit down to pee.
because
for most of
the
my
pee
life.
would go in the wrong area?
Because I hadn't trained. And then I remember once I was at a house party and I was wasted and I was like, fuck everyone. I just dropped my dax and I went into a bush and I like held up my dick and just started peeing and I like learnt how to angle it so it didn't like spray
45
all
up?
over me.
So you spent many years of your life
Because
coating
it's like
in your own
bits
urine.
of... It's like it's skin grafted. It's not like perfectly smooth. So the piss like catches. You know when
Didn't you have twisted balls as well?
you have like a stream, like a brook, and the water hits the rocks, and it kind of like there's off spray.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
off spray. Yeah.
See, I imagine it because like occasionally like you get a bit of fluff in the eye of your cock or something, and you piss, and it kind of shoots off in 3 different
Post
directions.
booty?
oh yeah, I get full blown
Yeah, it goes
UTIs like
everywhere.
a woman.
So do you?
I have a fucking gash like a pussy. It's not that big, but yeah, I do get UTIs. I do get UTIs.
Why? Because the eye of
you
your
don't pee
penis
after
is.
sex.
It's too.
That's why
it's
women get 'em.
It's at least like 3 times the size of a normal.
It's
Wait,
like that
the eye of your
Japanese
cock is-
porn.
Yeah, but see,
you
it's
could
on
put
a-
something in.
It's on a fucking. It's on
probably
a
get paid
slant.
heaps.
It's hard. It's on a slant. It's kind of like a ramp down into a car park. Like it's wide, but it's also like flat.
Have you
you
explained?
know Japanese porn when
It's
they...
like a folder.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you could slip.
could do
you could
that.
slip something in there.
Yeah, that's
oh
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I've looked at. So I was looking at butt
So you
plugs
put like a
online,
5 cent
right?
coin in there or something.
Not a
Probably make
5 cent
a lot of
coin,
money.
but I remember I got one of what's his fucking name? Polinick.
Chuck Palahniuk.
Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah.
I got one of his stories, and he's got that story Guts.
Yeah.
You know Guts?
Yeah.
It's about a kid who's trying to come in different ways. You know,
Right.
so like he'll swim down to the bottom of the pool and use the suction of the drain to like suck his butt while he wanks, and he tries to come before he suffocates. Anyway, at one point he takes dried candle wax and sticks it down the eye of his cock. So I could easily stick a candle down the eye of my cock, but
a
it
whole
doesn't interest
candle?
me.
How big?
No, not a whole
5
candle.
Like a
centimeter
birthday,
diameter?
cake candle.
Like one of the ones
Not
that
like a
sing, like a singing candle.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
church
Not like
candle?
you know, like a fuck. Yeah.
I've never been in a church.
Like a synagogue candle?
Yeah, like a menorah candle.
Does that help?
Could you shove a menorah up the eye of your cock?
Like a holy candle.
Could you get a dreidel up there?
I think I'm giving people with hyperspadias a bad rap. Google it. It's not as horrible as it sounds. Sure, call my dick.
I've never told anyone this before in my life. I have a thing called peyronie's.
Oh, I know about
You
peyronie's.
know peyronie's?
Yeah,
I've got
you know about
peyronie's.
Sounds like a
peyronie's, Jen?
flower.
Isn't it a
Peyronie's.
pasta?
It's like a
like a
ridged,
wog treat.
It's like a ridged lump of fat in the shaft of your penis.
Ew.
It's not huge. It's just like you would really have to be working
You're
it to
just
feel
saying
it.
ooh to everything. Chris must have a I feel like Chris does have a perfect
Yeah, he's got, like,
dick.
some perfect-
He looks like he has like an angelic fucking angel dick.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's literally got a halo around the head of
It's
it.
really cute.
And he's always exhausted because
Beautiful.
God's busy trying to suck that fucking thing.
bad. He would not love us.
Do you have to
just
suck his
talking
dick
about
to get
his
in the
dick.
pearly gates? You can see his face. He's a gorgeous little baby face, and he's very tall. I reckon he's hung like a fucking white stallion.
He's a very sweet man.
Anyway.
So twisted balls.
His dick's perfect. My dick's on the spectrum. Yeah, back to twisted balls.
I actually
your
like that.
dick-
Saying
your
people have
dick-
dicks on the spectrum is pretty fun.
Your dick's a P.T. Barnum exhibition.
When I was little, Mum's like, "You have a special penis. It's a Superman penis."
Fuck off. It's a bizarro penis.
Yeah, I was like, "Thanks, Mum."
Quick way to give you.
I was like, "Tell that to my suicide note." You know? So yeah, I had torsion just a couple of years ago.
That is one of my deepest
So what is that?
fears.
Torsion is when
Twisted
you're
testicles.
Oh, my friend had that.
My friend had that in year 7.
That's quite common, isn't it?
I know, and ever since then, there's been so many nights in my life where I've like shifted in on a couch or something. Like, oh, here we go. This is it.
Can we just address that Jen's being full millennial? She's like starting a fucking Instagram account.
I'm writing a
believe
note to
this.
remember later.
Oh, to
No,
look up
she's writing to her
hyperspadias.
fucking boyfriend that we're talking about.
If you ever want to prolong an orgasm, look
Oh,
up
yeah.
up
Dear
hy-
Chris,
look up hyperspadias before.
I hope you're well. At point, we discuss your cock in vivid detail. How is your
I feel
gig?
like we can talk about his dick, but if I ask one question about Jen's vagina, we're going to have a
No,
bit
it's
of a
fabulous. I don't give a shit.
Me too.
Oh, I'll share. It's very beautiful. I love it. So does he, so I don't give a fuck about
Anyway,
anyone else.
life's great.
No, don't ask and then back down. I've had a beer. I'm happy to talk about this.
I'm sure you have
I'm
a
sorry.
beautiful
Testicles?
punani.
No, let's talk about what people want to talk about. Twisted testes. I'm all ears.
Twisted testes. So basically, what happens is your balls twist. So
Yeah, it's all. It's
your
like,
right testicle ends up
fuck.
in the left bit of your sack. The left one ends up in the right bit next to your foot.
Oh, tell me more.
It's what they do to sheep, basically. It's like
don't wanna know.
rubber band the balls so they fall off.
Yeah.
And if you leave it for 24 hours, or so I've heard,
we
they
almost-
turn black and drop off.
Are we almost wrapped? I feel like I have too much fun on a podcast, and I'm like, can this never end?
No, it's great. We can
Keep
do
going,
a tight
please.
hour on dicks.
Okay, so torsion. I get really serious things happen in
I
the.
saw you like 2 days after the operation. You were so traumatized.
I get really intense shit happen to me for the lamest reasons. Like once my leg got really infected, and it looked like I had a knife wound, but it was just like a bad mosquito bite. Fucked up. Like because I was at a resort in Queensland. So I was
Queensland.
I was having a nap.
You got the most
And-
hypervigilant Jew body of all. I'm dying now.
I'm actually not psychosomatic at all. Not a hypochondriac, which is the problem. I've actually gone to
Because
hospital.
you had enough bad things happen.
I always
You
go to
know
the
pain.
hospital too late, and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Because I'm so chill and so I almost bled out through my nose. I ruined an entire mattress, and I couldn't feel my body. And everyone's like, "You should go to the hospital." I'm like, "I'm fine." So what happened was I was just having a nap, and one of those people who like tucks the blanket. I lie on my side and I tuck the blanket between my legs.
Me
You know,
too. Or
right?
a pillow.
Or a pillow. And then basically I woke up, and I was just like,
I'm going to be so fucking hypochondriac.
I was like,
tonight.
"Oh fuck."
And your balls just did it by
And it felt
themselves?
real tight. So
Down there.
So my thighs were like this, and they'd obviously like done a little like when you're rolling like some dough or something. I'd obviously.
Ben looks really distressed.
Oh, because I always imagine what would happen if you lived on like in a farmhouse, like 3 hours from civilization, and something like this happened. Like,
3 hours from civilization. Like,
forget it.
Where is
no
that?
balls. No balls.
I also
they drop off.
had a fucking descending hernia in my like my bottom region's
You have
like
not had any luck with your
closed for
genitals.
maintenance. There's like too many things. Honestly, I
Man.
grew up wondering why I had so many fucking issues with my downstairs area. And before my second birthday, they're like, fucking
Rearrange
sending fireballs
this
at my
shit.
dick.
so when you woke
So
up.
yeah, I woke up but I didn't know what it was, and I felt around, and I love anatomy. I'm always googling anatomy. I self-diagnose, but I also like do it in a really chill way. I'm like,
Oh, I
it
don't.
could be one
I
of these
do it
things.
in a really chill way.
Well, like,
it could be cancer.
I'm
Not
it could
into
be
that at
cancer, but it
all.
might not be cancer. Here are my other options. And I flick through the tabs. But basically, I went, my balls are really tight. I think this might be torsion. I'll never. So
you
thinking back-
knew?
Well, because when I was in school, I remember going home in the school bus, and one of my biggest bullies, he used to tell me he was gonna fuck me bloody, he was gonna murder me. Really great Jewish school, Mariah College. Please enroll now.
Angry
Anyway, this
guy.
kid, I heard that he got his
Is that
balls
not where they
twisted.
have armed security guards out the front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duh.
All right. Duh, fine.
Ever heard of a little thing called 9/11? We did that. It was an inside job. Anyway, it was the perfect misdirection. So this guy, my biggest fucking bully, someone heard that he got torsion and everyone called him Twisty. So that was such... Oh my god!
I can't believe it's a known thing among young men.
It's not.
Oh,
known.
God, no. Everyone in my high school knew about it as well.
Anyway,
Really?
Big time. Because a guy, I won't say his name, it just came to me for the first time in 20 years, but in year 7, he twisted his balls and everyone knew about it and everyone was terrified.
I know
of it.
more than one guy whose skin didn't grow with their penis, so they had to have a circumcision at an older age.
Oh yeah.
That I knew about.
Late age circumcision is apparently very painful.
Torsion or whatever it's
Apparently,
called.
late age chicken pox is pretty bad too.
Oh, I'm so fearful
Shingles.
of that.
Did you know?
I've never
I've never had chicken pox.
Never had it.
Shingles.
Okay, if one of us catches it, let's go get a really fucking nice, like, on Luxury Escape, get a nice, cheap, fucking luxury apartment somewhere in the Maldives and just both have it together for a bit.
My fear is with chicken pox, not even the chicken pox, it's that I will then, like, my face will get ravaged with pock marks and it's like, man,
They don't
I
leave
can't-
scars.
I can't have that happen at this age. I'm already bald. I've got, I don't,
But you were
I
so
can't.
good looking. Like, this might sound really fucked up. I think you're really fucking handsome.
What are you saying?
Hello.
I think
That
you're
makes me
really fucking
That makes me
handsome.
deeply uncomfortable.
You
When I
guys
was a
want me to
kid-
leave?
When I was a kid, everyone said that you get chicken pox from fucking a chicken. So I'm so surprised I don't have it. Pull back and reveal, motherfucker! No, anyway, torsion. I went to the hospital. I was like, hey, I try to keep my chill. Carly's like, this sounds really serious, but I'm always so chill. I like,
Oh, so this is very recently with
yeah,
Carly.
like last year.
Okay.
Last year or the year before. Anyway, I go to the hospital. They do some x-rays and stuff. They're like, yeah, your balls are not where they're meant to be. I was like, I figured. Anyway, they did this fucking gross thing where they take... I find the most, like, uninvasive things the most terrifying in
Yeah.
medical practices. All they did was take a paddle pop stick and rub it on my thigh.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know if it's kind of like a reflexology thing where they, like, put the hammer on your knee and your leg goes.
Yeah,
I don't know what
yeah.
it was. But they put... and when I think about it, I can taste like bile in my mouth. It is such
Really?
a revolting feeling. It's
quite
I have
sensual.
This really intense thing going on in my crotch, but they take a fucking like this dry paddle pop stick and just rubbed it on my thigh.
And then what? Your balls?
I don't know. I think they were checking like I should have like winced or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. Anyway, they basically said, yeah, there was mild torsion. So what they did was they put me out. Oh, this was the fucking worst. Here we go. I was in a fucking like Larry David comic book or something, right? I'm on the gurney. No, what's it called?
Yeah.
Gurney. I'm on that, and the person's coming over to talk to me, and they're like, what's your name? They write down my details. They spelt my name right. Then the guy thought he'd do a cool like throw the pen and catch it again, but he threw it and like dropped it on the floor, bent down to get it, smacked his head on the gurney, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't know if I trust this, right? Anyway, we get in the room, and as they're putting me out, legit, they sat me up, and they banged my head on the fucking light, on like the halogen light. So as I'm going out, I'm like, please, no.
Like, don't touch my
I don't
balls.
want to go out like this. These people are all going to touch my dick. And I woke up, and I was so out of it, and they're like, they stitched one of my balls to the wall
So it stays
To the
in
what, to the
place.
so
wall?
that it stays.
Yeah.
And that's still stitched?
Yeah, and from my so I got plastic surgery in my
Like a
dick.
Frankenstein dick.
I got a stitch in my balls.
Hey!
I've got gores in my abdomen from my
It's
hernia.
lovely. I bet it's lovely.
I had a fucking sliding hernia where my abdominal wall opened and my large intestines would fall into my scrotum.
What?
So for ages, I was like, why is my ball the size of a baseball? And it was actually my intestine, which is why I thought I had irritable bowel. But it was because when I was adjusting myself, I was squeezing the shit through my... Anyway.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so
I
they were... God was like, whoever's up there was like, you know what? You're going to have some serious problems down there.
Do you love your dick now?
But you are going to eat pussy like a fucking champion. You are going to be able to make girls come
Bless
from across the
you.
fucking room. That's like what I got in it.
Bless you.
That's what I
Women
got in
talk
exchange.
about you for years later, even if the relationship falls apart.
I
like,
broke up with a girl and her friend fucking cornered me at a party and asked me to go down on her.
Oh, you're a great man.
She's like, they've all been talking about it.
It's a great thing.
I was like,
He's got a mutilated penis, but he really knows how to eat pussy.
well, no one knew about the mutilated penis. A lot of girls I've
Women
been with
wouldn't
actually.
give 2 fucks.
Yeah, the girls didn't.
Thank God women are as...
would line up.
The girls never cared.
No
one ever cared.
Women
it was
would
one
not
of those
give
things.
2 shits.
No, that took
like-
me a long time to realize,
Women
though.
would care if you were annoying about it. Like if you were like, oh, my dick, they'd be like, oh, fuck off. But if you were just like, hey, this is what's up, plus I'll go down on you, they'd be like, come over right now. Like they wouldn't give 2 shits.
It's like everything where we're so much more self-conscious about ourselves than anyone would
Correct.
ever fucking
Yeah, women
think
don't
about.
care.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Any
I look in the
self-respecting
mirror
woman.
and I think I'm morbidly obese.
Yeah, same.
I try having an eating disorder for 6 months, wasn't my jam. And then I was like, oh, I'm fine. My body's fine.
We talk about having body dysmorphia all the time.
Massive body
Yeah,
dysmorphia.
I've got body dysmorphia.
I'm
Oh,
already...
man.
I was saying to Jen the other day, I wear scarves during hot weather because I feel like it covers up my tits.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like
I
this
have to wear-
absurd fucking thing.
If I haven't shaved my neck, I have to wear shirts with a collar always because I don't want anyone seeing my fucking dirty neck.
I just wear baggy shit. But I yo-yo where sometimes I feel good. I'm trying to write a bit about it where I have when the dysmorphia's in your favor and you're like, fuck, I feel so good today. Like I look fucking hot. And I try and dive into it because the next day I'm like, I can't believe I left the house like that. Like it's
Yeah,
Yeah, some days you look in the mirror and you're like, I'd fuck me.
yeah.
I'd go it.
Yeah, it's like, have you... so I'm assuming you had all these, like... Well, you said before you had all these, like, self-conscious issues about your dick and everything.
So I started having like gender dysphoria when I was about 5.
Why?
Because I thought maybe I wasn't meant to have a penis, maybe it was meant to be a vagina, like all kinds of business.
Oh,
Yeah, wow.
interesting.
And then also because I came from a family with a very blokey dad and I grew up dancing and stuff. I've had so many fucking psychs.
Yeah,
But
right.
it
Where do
always
you
came
fit
down
now?
to gender and sex.
Or where do you feel like you fit now?
I'm pretty gender fluid. That's where I like settled.
Yeah.
That's where you're most comfortable.
Because some days I feel completely detached from my penis. I'm like, I am genderless. Other days I feel like I look like a woman.
Yeah, right.
Do you ever feel like that, Benny?
Like,
feel like you
I
look
feel
feminine?
the older I get, the more detached I feel from my penis. Yeah. Like, I feel like my...
But do you think that's an age thing versus just a life thing?
I feel like I have a lot of what people would maybe deem classical female tendencies.
But do you feel that they're feminine?
Complaining, massive bitch.
I know. I think that's as a result of being raised by women and being around women a lot.
Yeah.
Do
But
I
in the
feel-
sense where, like, Jared was like, said, I feel like they're more feminine. Do you feel like that?
It's hard to say because I've never felt like a fucking man or like, but whatever. But you know, I think that
Yeah,
those
I
definitions,
guess.
you know what I mean? Especially
Yeah, I
especially
do.
in our culture, the definition of man and woman is so kind of locked into
Oh,
a very
yeah.
kind of like very baseline.
It's crazy.
Especially in Australia, where it's like, well, I'm a man because I like darts and footy and fucking vroom vroom cars, and I don't like any of those things. So I definitely, when I was in high school, didn't feel like a traditional man,
Yeah.
but my template of manhood was my grandfather, who was like 5'1" and
Punched Nazis.
Yeah.
That's pretty masked.
For him, like, and to me, he was like the most. I feel very blessed that I was very lucky early on in realizing that masculinity actually has nothing to do with machismo.
Yeah, you had a
or
great-
size or anything.
Yeah.
It's to do with like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's got stuff to do with like stoicism and honor and,
Totally.
and good humor and all this kind of stuff, which is probably just less to do with manhood and just to do with being a good human.
Yeah, but
I-
you still look for it.
I don't necessarily feel gender fluid, but I definitely don't identify with the modern conception of man.
Have you always felt gender fluid?
Yeah, when Jordan Raskopoulos came out, I started like talking about it with Carly.
Yeah.
And then when Cassie came out, I was like, it just was bubbling inside me. And then after Rosie came out, I was like, oh shit. And I'd spoken to all of them before I did a post where I came out as gender fluid on Instagram. And a bunch of people I wanted to have seen it saw it and liked it and shit.
Yeah.
And then I deleted the comment because the next day I felt so masculine. I was like, gross, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I pulled it down.
Yeah.
But some days I won't look at myself all day in the mirror because I feel like a woman and I don't want to look in the mirror and like shatter the
like the
illusion.
feeling.
Yeah.
Where I'm like 100% convinced I'm a woman.
But what does that like? What does that feel like?
Very feminine.
But what does that feel like? You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like for
totally,
me, these things start breaking down because like, what is feeling feminine?
But
we're not
talking about like a person with a gamut of ways of presenting. I'm talking about like two completely different. I have a different gait. The way I talk is different. The way I gesticulate, like the whole thing. Because I mean, what I've come to notice when I look at the gender spectrum is often people that are trans or gender fluid, they do quite often bounce between the generic idea of a man and a woman.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is why some people argue there's only two genders. And I'm like, there are a lot of people that flick between those cookie cutter versions of what a gender, of what male and female gender is. And mine really go back and forth. Like I'll start manspreading, I'll talk about really gruff things, and other times I can't even bear it. And I'll just want to have like tea and cake, and I want to go shopping, and I want to like sit my girlfriends down and vent about it. Like,
has Carly ever noticed prior to this, like after you had this conversation, did your partner go, oh, you know what? That makes perfect sense.
I'd always dated women who dated a string of men who came out.
Okay.
So that also, I was like, so growing up, like I'd been with guys, I'd had relationships with guys, and then it all kind of came together, and I was like, oh, maybe I was the woman in the and then you have that idea of like, what's a gay relationship? Is there someone who's more feminine?
Does there have to be someone who takes the role?
And you know what? I'm sure there isn't, but every gay couple I know, they're always, whether they're lesbian or gay, there usually is someone who's like more masc and more femme.
Yeah, like goes either way.
But isn't that like, couldn't you just kind of like say that they're just different words for like dominant and submissive in the ways that we understand them?
Yeah. Exactly. But they're like mutually exclusive, I feel like, with what's masc and femme.
Do you think gender is like, because, like, it might be a bit naff to even reference this because I don't know if it's been disproved or not, but you know the Kinsey scale of sexuality where it's like, you've got heterosexuality, like staunch heterosexuality on one end and staunch homosexuality on the other.
Is sexuality fluid?
I think so, yeah.
See, I actually don't.
Really?
I know some people that are so hetero and they're not in denial. Like, they would be with the same sex and it just wouldn't be for them.
No, I mean, I've said that to you, Jen. There's times where I wish I was gay. I wish I was fucking gay.
Everyone can fucking try it. Everyone can be with whoever, but I really do think there are actually...
Yeah, there's people who are into it, there's people who's not. Who are not.
No, but I have had times... Everyone
I ever met who's like, you don't need drugs to get high, had never fucking taken drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sure, you can't go out and say, no, it's wrong to be with a guy if you're a guy and you've never been with a guy. But I do think there are like there is fluidity, but there are also like people's little stations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said this to Jen before. There's times where I've been on a string of bad dates with women and gone, God, I wish I could just be gay. It'd be so much easier. And obviously realize it probably wouldn't, and there's all complications with that.
If you like to fuck,
however, and
we've
then
all been there.
And then I've tried. Like I've tried to watch gay porn or whatever, and it just doesn't fucking do it. I have had times in my life where I've been a couple of beers deep, talking to a guy, maybe it gets a little bit flirty or something, and I have definitely felt like a sexual attraction to that person. But I've never carried it further than that. But
when I was...
So to me, it would suggest that, I'm very much on the side of heterosexuality, but I think given the right person and the right time and maybe the right substances in my system, I maybe could go in that direction.
I feel like, I don't know if this is the right attitude, but people are attracted to who they're attracted to. Sometimes it changes.
So that'd be pansexual. But I
think it's a big deal.
There's got to be...
I don't like all these fucking labels.
I don't either. It kind of annoys me when people are like, well, have you liked someone of the same? It's like, why does it fucking matter? Like, what does it mean?
If you're going to have these conversations, labels are so important to like cut to the meat of what,
I find them
what your
exhausting.
argument is. If you want to, you don't have to. It is exhausting. But if you want to have those discussions, without labels, it's like so much more wishy-washy than it could be. When I was 16, I went for a dog walk with my mum and told her I was bisexual, and she cried just because it was a shock to her, you know. And then the next day I ran into her room. I was like, Mum, what I said, I was crazy. I don't know what I was saying. A few years later, I went with a guy to see fucking Brokeback Mountain, and then we kissed under the stars. I was like, I think I'm bisexual.
That's so romantic.
It was pretty gay.
Have you ever slept with a man?
Have I slept with a man? Have I had intercourse with a man?
Have you had intercourse with a man?
No.
Yeah, but that
Have
doesn't
I
necessarily.
done all the other things? Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
then,
so it's kinda like-
Yeah, right.
I was once seeing a girl and I cheated on her with her best male friend in a broom closet.
That's terrible.
Have you ever 69 with a guy in a broom closet? While your female counterparts in the
I like
next
that it was
room?
literally in a closet.
You're like, I had to swat brooms, like there were literal brooms there. And like mop juice.
I hate the label shit. I find it annoying.
Yeah, I find it exhausting. But like with that thing I was saying about the Kinsey scale of sexuality, maybe it's the same with gender, where it's like, there's the staunch, whatever, stereotypical version of masculinity on one end and femininity on the other, and then most other people kind of, I've definitely got traits that, like I've had exes where I've kind of like intuited things or moods that they're in or that kind of stuff where they've said, oh, no other guys ever noticed that in me. And maybe it's because I was just being around a lot of women and I, kind of am more sensitive to certain tells or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe it's that there's a part of me that's more feminine than not.
I feel like
whatever that fucking means.
Whoever
All
you
these
are.
words are so fucking-
See, I've always been a massive fan of labels. And I think it's because my mind is so all over the shop. It helps me just like
Categorize?
get to the fucking point in my own head.
Yeah,
But
fair
I feel
enough.
like whoever you are by yourself, when you haven't had any interactions with people for a while, any sort of stimulus, if you're sitting at home and suddenly you're like, oh, I'd love to put on a dress, you can be pretty sure that that's who you are, as opposed to like rubbing off onto people. Because I used to always be such a chameleon. I had a best friend when I was 10 who mentally challenged. Back then, he was called retarded. His parents called him retarded. And I would come home and I would talk and act exactly like him. People always rubbed off onto me. So also for years, I was like, maybe it's not who I am, maybe it's who they are. But then, when I was by myself, certain things would rise to the surface and I was like, oh, this has nothing to do with them. This is all me.
But I find labels fucking exhausting because I know women who are in monogamous relationships with men. They've only ever dated men. They only ever intend on dating men. But they wank to
These cups.
lady on lady porn.
Yeah, right.
Does that make them bi? Do you know what I mean? It's like, just fucking let it be what it is.
yeah, you're
like,
just into what you're
I'm
in
of
right
the thing
now.
where
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, how you feel today is fine.
Well,
like,
if someone hasn't had a relationship with the same sex, I feel like they often won't go as far as to exclaim that they're bi.
but that's to you though. So say some of these women say, well, I'm bi because I'm so turned on by women.
No,
on women
but
porn.
that's all
But
that-
then other men wank off to like
course.
what I heard was really popular with women is lesbian porn with men is a transsexual woman. So
know a lot of
tits and a
guys.
dick.
I know a lot of guys are into that.
Yeah, massively into it. But it's just kind of that whole thing of like you boil it down to so much. It's like,
some people need labels to like steady themselves.
and I
because
appreciate that,
before
but I find it
realized-
very stressful.
Before I like openly was like, oh, I'm bisexual, I actively was not looking for guys. Because I told myself I was straight and just had a phase. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and you don't want to label.
If you're a
it.
girl and you watch lesbian porn and it turns you on, yes, I'd say you're bisexual because it's literally bisexual. It's
real
just
hot.
what you're sexually attracted
it's
to.
very, very
because
hot,
it's not about gender. Because then also people always say if you're asexual, what's all of this about? Because you can be aromantic, biromantic, transromantic. You can have romantic relationships.
Makes me feel
it's
dizzy.
exhausting. It's exhausting.
Exhausting. But if you're on a dating app and you want to fucking like lay down, hey, this is what I'm about. I'm trans romantic, meaning I will date someone who's trans, but I won't have sex with you. They need to know that.
See, I find that like a mind fuck for the trans person. Because it's like, I'll date you, but I won't fuck you.
See, when these conversations come up, I feel like I am a man out of time.
Me
You know what
too.
I mean?
I feel like I'm
yeah,
150.
I feel like I'm like, okay, you kids have your fun
Me
with
too.
your,
Yeah,
but you go
with
to
your
IKEA,
trans romance. I don't know what the fuck that means.
You go to
Yeah.
IKEA and you can't say, give me a furniture and hope that they know that you mean a table.
I agree
I
with
understand
that.
what you're saying. You need the intention, and I completely understand how labels are comforting to some extent.
I find them very comfortable.
Yeah, I totally
And
get
it's
that
probably-
because it places you and there's a normality attached to it. Once there's a comfortable label, like the whole thing of I don't know what I am. Oh,
It's
I
that.
am this.
It's
Yeah,
that.
I
felt
totally
lost
understand
my entire
that.
life, and I'm like, oh, I fit into boxes, and
Yeah.
that makes me feel like really comfortable.
And that to me makes perfect sense. But in terms of sexuality, labels stress me the fuck out. But I do completely understand because the rest of my life fits perfectly with that, where it's like, oh, this label you tick that box, that's where you go.
Yeah.
And the comfort lies within that because you're like, I am here and so are so many other people and this is where we are and this is what we're looking for.
That's
When
right.
people-
There's a huge amount of comfort
And
there.
I think it's easy for you and me, Jen, to say that we get stressed out by that. Because
I do get a bit stressed.
No, so do I. But I think it's easy.
I'm another generation. I'm old.
But it's not just that. I think that we're also, on the spectrum of things, have quite conventional sexuality. So it is the norm and it is easy. But it's.
I consider
half
myself
of like if you're coming
conventional,
out,
but if you talk to other people, I'm not.
if you're coming out as gay or bi or trans, it's because of those labels that everyone immediately goes, oh, that's what you meant. And I think also there's like this relief of actually saying those words, you know what I mean? And labeling yourself.
Yeah, there's probably a huge amount of
a
confidence.
normalization. It's a
Yeah,
normalization.
exactly.
It's like
It's a
when the internet
normalization.
first came out, and people thought they were very unique with certain fetishes that they had, and then suddenly it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's a fucking community of 5 billion people that are into
Because you used to say
www.google.com.
www.google.com, now you can just say Google.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, who needs the www dot
So
and the
you
dot
found
com?
comfort and confidence in labels.
Yes, 100%. And Carly's the first person who's like, I've told her everything. She's like, I'm down with all of this.
That's why you're going to
Which
get
is also why we're going to get married.
married.
Whereas like one of my exes had a fetish. She's like, I really want to see you kiss a guy. And I knew it was just like some fucking sick and twisted idea. Of,
Well,
I had an ex that
seem-
wanted to see me get fucked in the butt, and it was around the time that I had a horrendous anal fissure. So when I said no, probably not the best time, I was labelled a homophobe.
See,
It
when
sounded
Jared
like
said it, I
you
was
made
going to
it-
say it wasn't like so bad. I was like, maybe it is just something to turn her on. But then when you said it, whole new level.
Yeah, well, you
it's
know
kind of
the
rough
context.
now.
you made it sound like you had a stalker with an anal fucking fixation because you said an anal fisher, and I pictured like someone like fishing for like a cat fisher, like they're an anal fisher, like they just can't get enough of that fucking.
So now you've found your person who you can tell everything to.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really
is there
weird.
comfort
my
in that to
my
be-
parents don't know any of this stuff.
Can I ask? It's a very personal
Don't send them
question.
this
But
recording.
with you and Carly, when you discuss stuff, do
Yeah.
you wake up and do you feel like you need to vocalize like I feel very feminine today? Or is it just sort of very organic between you two and it's kind of like, oh, cool.
It's very organic.
Yeah, so it's very natural for both of you.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's
very,
so romantic and lovely.
Yeah,
You guys
jealous.
should be so married.
I mean, she's very femme. And that's the thing. I mean, for a while, it really fucked me up because someone suggested to me that all the girls I'm dating, maybe I am gay. And it was just that I wanted to be like them. And it occurred to me, I do date girls that I wish I was more like.
Right.
I often date girls who, like, if I was a woman, I would like to look like. But then I was like, oh, I'm not gay. It's a gender fluidity thing.
Yeah.
You know
But
what
do
I
you
mean?
think within that, this is going to sound really weird now, but if I was a dude, I'd hope that I acted the way my partner does. Is that strange?
What does that mean?
In that he's like a very...
You want to be the same?
No, but I would hope that I carried the traits that I appreciate that he has.
Yeah.
I would hope in some very strange way that if I was a dude, I could give those traits to someone.
Oh yeah, no,
Like Chris,
that's-
like
yeah,
having a
that's-
big cock. You'd have a big
like
cock.
honest and,
You
you
can
know...
just see he's got such big dick energy. It's a fucking
He's
joke.
not cocky at
Big
all. He's not a cocky man.
He's
he
not
doesn't.
cocky. Yeah, he's a
not
lovely guy. What are you
aggressive.
But that's the
talking
whole point of big dick
He's
energy.
very gentle.
You're just fucking revealing your own
very gentle
insecurities.
man.
No, this big dick energy thing, you know, that
He's a
Ariana
very-
Grande is talking about. No,
I don't know who Ariana Grande
big
is.
dick-
I'm 37
big
years
dick
old.
energy is the
He's
idea.
a very calm, gentle man.
Big dick energy is the idea that you're not cocky. You're
Yeah,
so
it sounds like
comfortable
I'm
with
dating
who you
some
are
ape.
That's what true
because you have a big dick and you don't.
Well, that's what
your
true.
masculinity isn't.
That's what a true alpha male is.
Yes.
That, you know, it pisses me off so
Sounds
much.
like I'm
that
dating a
everyone's-
fucking ape who's like
No, he's a
walking around
wonderful,
like.
wonderful guy. But
Thanks, Benny.
No, he really.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm tearing him down. It's like
He's a very nice
we
man.
used to date and
He's
he like
really
fucked me over.
sensitive.
I can't believe Chris left me for Jen.
He's a sensitive, nice person.
Anyway, no, I think Chris is lovely. I don't know why.
Thank you.
I
I think
was
Kyle's
like, you
lovely.
know what? I'm going to tear him apart by giving him compliments. And then I never like stopped to think. I was like, no, Chris is a great guy.
I don't know why I'm being
Let's shit on
defensive.
someone who's terrible in comedy right
No,
now.
Well,
no,
anyway,
I'm kidding.
I think it's wonderful that you and your partner, like that Carly can go with you and be cool with it. But yeah, I thought of that because you were saying, are you dating them?
She
because
buys me
you,
ears.
Is this true?
Yeah.
So that's very
It's long.
romantic.
Maybe you should get married. I'm sorry for shitting
Of course
on
they
you.
should get married. They're in love.
I'm sorry for shitting on your
And he's
engagement.
found his
I
person.
think marriage is fucking bullshit.
Just tell me you're not spending
Don't
absurd
say
amount.
that.
Just tell me you're not
Let
spending.
them celebrate.
Just tell me you're not spending absurd amount of money on a fucking ring.
What's? Oh no.
Good.
It'll
Because
be
if she loves you, you can give her a burger
It'll
ring.
be-
and that's
Ben
enough.
thinks $500 is an absurd amount of money. So don't fucking
On a
listen to
fucking
him.
ring? It's a fucking dog
Don't
collar.
listen
It's
to him.
absurd.
It
Sorry.
needs to be
No, I'm
timeless.
very happy for you.
No.
It needs to
Are we
be
being
romantic.
invited to the wedding?
This is something that I was gonna like bring up with you guys, but probably not on the pod.
No, bring it up.
So we're not.
We can
Coming
edit.
from a Jewish family, it's like here's this cap of people, and my parents, of course, are inviting like 100 people.
Yeah.
So I only have pretty much the people I've engaged with consistently for the last 2 years are invited, and everyone else,
Unbelievable. I
everyone
can't
else,
fucking believe it. We're
they
not
can't
being
fucking
invited.
fit.
I'm
We're not
okay
being
with it. I
invited.
understand.
Listen,
This is
none-
unfucking believable.
Benny, weddings are expensive.
You just told me that I
No.
was your fucking hero.
You were.
And I was.
Were, and then I fucking woke up to myself with your fucking dad hats. Where's your fucking?
Weddings are very
Where's
expensive.
your convertible, bro?
Fuck off.
Spend it on your honeymoon. Weddings are expensive. You invite who you want to invite.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So
The last
When
wedding
I
I
was-
was at, I whispered in the bride's ear as she walked past me, "This cost a lot of money. It better last."
Oh, that's terrible. I love a good wedding. It's
Carly and I have
fabulous.
agreed that the second she says I do, I get to turn to the crowd and go, my wife? Because the joke to me is that we both fucking hate Borat. Like, why not do...
Why do you hate Borat?
I like Sacha Baron.
Oh,
I
he's
love Sacha
fucking
Baron Cohen.
Amazing, man.
I think
I
he's
love
a
him.
genius.
The genius.
Not a fan of Borat.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think
that's
Borat's
okay.
fucking wonderful. Anyway, whatever.
Anyway.
We've been doing.
But yeah, no, as a kid, I wanted to get married because at fucking Mariah, they like dressed us up as bride and groom and we have to do these shabbases and get married as like a small child.
Oh, wow, that's weird.
Fuck. Well, now your dreams are coming true and you're getting married, and congratulations.
She's
I
lovely.
suppose.
But, you know, it started off as Carly's
nice.
mum passed away earlier this year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And she was supposed to have about 5 to 10 years. So we've ramped shit up. We're like, let's have a wedding before she passes away.
Oh, I'm so
and we were
sorry.
already into the plans. Then she passed away and we were like, let's not let this go in vain.
Yeah.
Let's turn something not
A
very nice
passing.
into something beautiful. So we'll have a wedding before the end of the year.
Now I feel like a real fucking asshole.
No.
Shit, yeah.
I really am
we're
a piece
both
of shit.
No, we're both kind of. It's like getting married. We're not very traditional, so we're like, this will be the one traditional thing that we do. It's no skin off our teeth. It's gonna be easy. We're gonna have fun. Everyone's gonna take pingers at the ceremony. Most people do it at the reception.
no.
We're dropping pickies at the fucking I do bit.
Do a massive fucking rack of cage.
I don't know how I feel
before the
about
vows.
that.
My best man's gay. One of my other groomsmen is gay. It's very forward thinking.
Yeah, it's a
gonna
very
be
woke.
beautiful.
We have a female celebrant.
Are you doing the whole Jew thing? Are you gonna do like crush the
She's
glass?
not Jewish, though.
She's Maori, right? So we're gonna have some like New Zealand kind of
Dance?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm into it.
I look forward to hearing about it.
Oh, don't be such a fucking pessimistic shit.
No, it's
You know
fine.
what? You're going to end up falling in love with someone and you're going to end up marrying them.
I can't see it, man.
And
Look
you're
at
going
it,
to end
I
up
can't see
being
it
such an
happening. I
old,
can't- I
annoying
honestly-
prick because
I
you're going
can't
to
see it.
garden together and
I
shit.
don't think there's anything wrong with getting married or not getting married. I really don't think it makes
No,
a fucking
I
difference.
don't either.
I
It's just-
have
Benny's
like
just being annoying.
I
and
have
pessimistic.
hypervigilant anxieties about it being a curse.
Bringing it
Ah,
back.
yes, full
Very
circle,
good.
Jekyll.
That was my first.
Thank you.
That was my first callback in my history of comedy. 'Cause I don't know how to do anything relatable. But I've been having nightmares about it, like that
About the wedding?
we're gonna get married and then it's gonna make us crumble.
Why?
Yes, because the pressure. Labels.
I feel like it'd be
labels.
exactly the same.
I think exactly.
Okay, I proposed to her at the end of last year when we were on a 4-week trip of America,
guys.
which was like a fucking honeymoon. We said after, we're like, what do we do for our honeymoon? Maybe we do like a tour of Soviet and communist countries, like have photos with like bags over our head and I'm holding a gun, shit like that. And we're freezing cold and we got frostbite because I didn't know how we could top our America trip.
That's so
Went to a
lovely.
fucking 5-star vegan restaurant where celebrities go on the fucking Hollywood Strip. I proposed to her and the next day we spent at Disneyland. I'm like, we can't top that.
Yeah, it's lovely.
You guys are so
So what do we do for our
wonderful.
honeymoon?
Vietnam?
the Killing Fields or something.
Killing
I was
fields.
going to say Hoi An, which is like a really romantic place, but Hoi An in Vietnam.
I've been to Vietnam's so fun.
I know. I love it.
So aggressive.
A lot of people don't know this, but they have some of the best sweatshops in Vietnam. No, because some of them
terrible.
they're treated like we all know about sweatshops, but some of those kids get 5 cents a week.
Oh yeah, and suicide nets. It's fantastic.
Don't,
That's
I'll
US
feel
dollars.
sad. It's late.
That's 5 pennies. That's good.
That's terrible.
That's a nickel.
We're gonna
Wrap things up.
wrap this up.
On suicide nets, Jesus Christ. I mean, we were talking about weddings. I'm excited for your wedding.
Who do you
Congratulations.
think's making
Mazel
Carly's
tov.
fucking dress?
Oh, no.
What's your word for next week?
Oh, yeah. What would you like to contribute to our wonderful hat? Please.
What's a word?
We've had like Mars and magic and silliness and hypervigilance, which you got.
Bunch of school children.
Yeah.
Mars and magic.
And guilt. Optimism.
Oh, here we go. Decolonization.
Oh,
Do you want that to
Go
be?
on. Go on.
Really?
Get someone white in and challenge
That's
them.
his
Make
word.
him
That's fine.
sweat.
Rough.
Make him sweat.
Decolonization. Are you fucking serious?
What's that or blackface? You choose one. Blackface is so underrated. All through uni, I studied musical theatre all through uni because I was so like gesticulating, very vaudevillian. The head of music theatre was always like, "You're like Al Jolson. You're like Al Jolson. Look him up. He's like the king of blackface."
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not well remembered. Al Jolson. You are. May I just say? I know I've shat on you for a lot of the podcast. Your penis and your impending nuptials and all this stuff. You are one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life.
Thank you.
Like hands down. No, he's like a
Benny.
fucking triple threat. It's unbelievable.
He's very
Dancing,
talented.
singing,
Jen
magic,
saw me recently
comedy.
in Newcastle, and it was a weird gig. But I
Nah,
think,
man,
thought
you
you
should
did really
fucking
well.
bring back some of those
Did you
fucking
watch the
big
rest of that
pieces that
gig?
you used to do.
you know that no one books me anymore.
Honestly, I've been cast out many, many times, and you come back and
Ben's been cast out more than anyone.
it's true.
You have been.
It really is.
Should hear the names they call you.
Oh fuck! Really?
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
No
All
one
right,
talks
look.
about you.
Jared Jekyll's coming back to comedy. How can people find you on the internets?
Jared Jekyll, JEKYLL. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Bebo, Facebook, Hubbo Hotel, all the things.
Look up Jared Jekyll on all of them. He will be at a gig near you very soon. Thank you so much for talking to us
you, Jared.
about hypervigilance.
Did you want to say something? to
Um,
close?
Also, I'm kind of dropping out of comedy because I'm working on my hip hop at the moment, and I'm releasing my second EP soon, and I will start touring as a rapper. That is not
Okay,
a joke.
go to his gigs.
Just on the back of Ben telling me how talented I am, I remembered that I also rap real good. So come,
he is. You're right.
come to my
Support the
gigs.
man.
Support. Yeah.
Support Jared Jekyll in
And if
whatever
you don't-
endeavor he does.
If you don't support me, I'm the face of many brands. I'll always be okay. I'll always be chilling on my yacht. But I do like making the ha-has as well.
If you don't support him, you're an anti-Semite.